to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you try their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, of course, the king of all, those massive and cowboy-cut ribeye and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Biggest I've ever had, the best I've ever had. Always USDA Prime. Yes, USDA Prime. Not Choice, not Choice Select. They're Prime. Even those Angus and Wagyu burgers, Prime burgers, are the best I've ever had. Certainly be the best you've ever had. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give a call and find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, our independents from coast to coast, as well as everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television and Hotel Television from coast to coast in every Nielsen-rated market in America. We are here with our boxing insider and Hall of Famer. That would be the great Joe Cortez, International Boxing Hall of Fame referee. Joe, welcome into the show.
Hey, thank you.
All right, Joe.
I'm here again to talk a little bit about my favorite firm boxing show that we're doing tonight, and tell our fans a little bit about what's going on with boxing.
That's right. The Fair But Firm Show. Tell everybody about the Fair But Firm Show and the Joe Cortez shows. Two different shows appearing here with the Sports Circus at least once a week, maybe more. Sometimes we'll give an encore performance of one of those episodes. Tell everybody about those.
Well, we're doing our show, the Fair But Firm Show. It's on Wednesdays there under the banner of Sports Circus, and it's a Joe Cortez show. It's on Friday. It's a variety show. Talk about different topics. Well, my show, I've been doing my shows for about 10 years now. And the Fair But Firm show, people know me as Fair But Firm. You know, I have that copyright back in the days when I started doing the Fair But Firm show. People say, you got to get that copyright because it's your show that you've been doing for so many years. And hopefully you can do a documentary and a book. And that's what I'm looking at down the line.
Okay. All right. That's good stuff. So Fair But Firm. Why Fair But Firm? How come it's not firm but fair? How come it's not something else? Why is it fair but firm?
Because I feel like I got to do it my way. And the way I was there, I got to be fair with the fighter, but at the same token, you got to be firm. So I said fair but firm. I kept it that way. People you say, why do you use it the other way around? I said, what difference does it make? You know, it's the way I've been doing it from day one. I'm fair, but I'm firm.
Okay, so in the ring as a former boxer, were you fair but firm?
As a boxer, I was always fair with my training, and I was excellent, not fair. I was excellent with my boxing skills, and I always felt like my fair but firm came about just for my instructions as a referee, because I think that goes good with what my job has to do with being fair with the fighters, but at the same token, be firm so they can abide by the rules. And I take that in life the same way. I'm fair but firm with my life as well.
That's good stuff. So talk to me about some of the fights, Joe. I want to know a little bit more about what's on your mind today, because you said you want to talk about maybe some certain fights that you had in your head.
Well, let me tell you about the Julio Cesar Chavez fight with Greg Haugen. I was very fair firm with that fight for the simple reason that as a referee, I know that they had bad blood between both of them, and there was 136,000 fans, the largest crowd in boxing history, in Mexico City, Stadium Azteca. And it was 30 years ago last week. It's the 30th anniversary. And they called me up and said, Joe, let's talk a little bit about that, which I did. It was a great honor being selected as a referee for such a major fight, with a fight that's in the history books, that's the largest crowd in history. And Julio Cesar Chavez was upset with Greg Haugen, because Greg Haugen kept taunting him and telling him that he's a Mickey Mouse fighter. He was for a bunch of Tijuana taxi drivers. Those are the kind of fighters he'd been knocking out. So, Chavez was very upset with those comments made by Greg Haugen. So Chavez told him, I'm gonna really whip your butt in the ring when we fight in Mexico City. And So I knew there was bad blood between both of them, and but that's why, like I say, like I tell them, yeah, I'm fair, but I'm firm because I have to take control, making sure I don't lose control of the fight when they fight with their bad blood between both of them.
So, Joe, when boxers get together at the weigh-in or whatever, all these promo stunts, I mean, look, there's a lot of trash talking between them and this and that and the other. And you know what I find as a former baseball player myself, I always find that we were looking for that proverbial bulletin board material, right? Something that you could just put on your board and you can look at. It's like, okay, when that day comes and we're playing, we'll have something. You see that in football, baseball, basketball, hockey, I would imagine in boxing as well, too.
Well, boxing, one thing with fighters, first of all, a lot of them grow up in tough neighborhoods. There's a lot of street talk in them automatically, and they try to use that to go into the fight when they try to intimidate the fighters with trash talk. You just try to get into their head, You get a fighter upset by telling him, calling him different names, and Muhammad Ali started doing that back in the 50s, the 60s, when he started fighting in the pros. He started taunting these fighters. He would call Sonny Liston the ugly bear. He would call Joe Frazier the gorilla. And we have no names for different fighters. He'd be taunting them. For Ernie Shaved, he called him Acorn, and all kinds of names just to get these guys upset, to try to get into their head. So because as a fighter, when you're in that ring, you have to think intelligently, but by that I mean that you have to don't use your cool. If you lose your cool while you're in that ring, you're going to get the other guy, you're going to get upset, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So by taunting your fighters while you're doing this, you're getting them upset, so they lose control. When the bell rings, they're ready, they're so upset, they come out swinging crazy, they forget to keep their guards up. And that's just what he wanted these fighters to do, to lose their cool so they cannot think straight. They're going to make a lot of mistakes that he was able to capitalize on the openings and knock him out. So that's a game that you use, tactic that you use, and a lot of fighters use that. They follow his steps. Say, you know what? I'm not going to be easy, cool, calm, and collective at the weigh-in and at the press conference. I'm going to be nasty and get the guy upset so he can open up for me when the bell rings.
Joe, how much talking goes on in the ring between the fighters in the same light?
Well, you know what? It could be a lot, but if you're a good referee, that's why I tell them I'm fair, but I'm firm. That means that what abide by the rules of good sportsmanlike conduct, and that's what I tell them back in the dressing room, because the fighters are giving the rules back in the dressing room. What we do in the ring is just like a minor thing. Like we say, okay, guys, we go to the rules of the dressing room. Okay, give me a good clean fight, and remember, touch gloves and protect gloves at all times. And then the bell rings. But the rules are actually giving a good 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes back in the dressing room. That they know that you are no nonsense referee. You're taking control, and this is where a good referee stands out with his ring mechanics and his performance, and make sure that the fighters, obey the commands of the referee. So this is when a referee has to say, if you start with cursing or using dirty tactics in the ring, I may penalize you, I may take points, or you may be disqualified. So give me a good clean fight, give me a good sportsmanlike conduct. And that's what they normally do when I was refereeing anyway. I think in my whole career, and my over 1,000 fights, professional fights that I referee, being fair but firm, I've disqualified like 2 fighters in my whole career. One was for low blows. I kept Kirk Johnson against John Ruiz. Kirk Johnson kept hitting low blows. I took 1 point. I took another time. I took another point. The third time, after he's hitting low again, it's automatic disqualification. I disqualified him at the heavyweight championship fight, WBA. Another one was Maromedo Paez, and he had reported with a body shot. The guy went down on one knee. He looked at him while he was on one knee, and he clocked it one more time. Hit him while he was on one knee. And as soon as he hit him, the guy rolled over. I threw my hands up in the air, and I disqualified Paez for intentional foul. That was really intentional as it gets. And that's the only 2 times that fighters had to be disqualified. And all the fighters know I'm a no-nonsense referee, and I try to carry myself that way in life as well. And, I talk a lot to senior citizens. There's a program out here in Las Vegas that Deanne Cameron, she's the chairperson, the father of the South Nevada chapter, Southern Nevada chapter, and it's called a National Agent in Place national agent in place. And, you know, the reason why I like to talk about this group every so often is because there's a lot of people out there that take advantage of seniors. And, you know, a bunch of con artists that tell us, that when I go talk to these seniors at the meetings, I like to tell them like I do with the fighters, you know. You have to be careful, keep your guards up at all times. There's always going to be somebody out there trying to get over on you. And you have to be sharp enough. But sometimes the seniors, they're very, they're very easygoing, and they don't think it's going to happen to them because I don't think anybody going to take advantage of a senior. A lot of folks out there do. So I tell folks out there, and like I tell fighters, give me a clean fight, obey my commands. But I tell seniors, you have to be very careful out there. Keep your guards up at all times as well. That's why I love talking to the seniors, because I say, listen, I grew up, in Spanish Harlem, and I grew up in a tough neighborhood, and I was a senior citizen myself, but I still got a little spark of the old flash. I'm not going to let nobody get over on me, just like I don't want nobody getting over you guys.
All right, Joe, hold that thought. We're going to be back here with the great Joe Cortez, International Boxing Hall of Fame referee, in just a moment here on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere, folks. Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
If you're tired of the fake news and tired of all the left-wing BS and agendas out there, if you want to do your right part to clean out the swamps and hit the lefties where it hurts, their pocketbook, we all know the president and his cronies hired thousands more IRS employees and agents. Now that's not very American. There's a way to fight back. Fellow conservatives out there, call American Tax Relief. They can help you pay less to the IRS. Don't you give a penny more to spend to the left-wing agendas. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes or haven't filed your taxes in years, call my friends at American Tax Relief. They'll give you a 100% free introduction to their program, and trust me, they're on the right side of your freedom. Pay the IRS less. Call now.
800-958-2157. 800-958-2157. That's 800-958-2157. Paid for by the Tax Doctor.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196. Paid for by Legal Alert Line.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends that are with us right now, and that would be by the great Joe Cortez, International Boxing Hall of Fame referee, at the Joe Cortez Show, and of course, Fair But Firm. Joe, tell everybody about the programs.
Well, again, talking about my history in boxing with the Fair But Firm Show, I like to talk about different topics, some of the highlights of my career in boxing and what I've accomplished and what I've gone through enforcing the rules thing, and what it mainly started, was it up for the safety of the fighters. But that's one shot to Fair But Firm Show, which I've been doing for the last 10 years at least. And then it's copyrighted, and I enjoy sharing my knowledge and wisdom with the fans out there. And then I have the Joe Cortez shows on Fridays, which I do as a different type of topic, a variety show. And I talk about everything of walks of life, healthcare, just being an inspirational individual to speak to viewers out there and listeners to what I talk about, doing the right things in life and paying it forward, and just helping them with healthcare, where to go for help for senior citizens. And with my good friend, Deanne Cameron, who's the chairperson for the Naturally Aging in Place as a group, and for the seniors. So I love doing all kinds of talk shows like that.
All right. That's good stuff. Oh, and by the way, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from Honolulu all the way to Atlanta. A whole bunch of other points in between, whether you're also on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, WOW, Time Warner Cable affiliates. Thanks for joining us again, as well as everybody on Hotel Television in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast. Back here again with Joe Cortez. Joe, in the last segment, I was talking a little bit about trash talking in the ring. How much of that do you hear in the ring?
I'll tell you, for me, I would say less than 0.5% in my whole career. I've done over 1,000 fights as a referee. Because I gave them the instructions in the dressing room when I talked to them about good sportsmanlike conduct. That includes that trash talking stuff. I don't tolerate that. And when they're in that ring, if they start with it, I stop it right away, and I go to the corner and tell them, you cut all this stuff out. Oh, good sportsmanlike conduct, you understand? And they stop right away.
That's good stuff. A lot of people don't know the answers to that question. That's why we're asking Joe, because Joe's been in this rodeo for decades and decades. First as a Gold Gloves boxer. He's the Golden Gloves champion, I think, a couple of times. Isn't that right, Joe?
Yes, sir. I've won a total of 6 Golden Glove championships. And that's when you learn all your ring mechanics and your discipline during the amateur years. So when you turn pro, you're ready to take it on a professional level.
Now, also within those Golden Gloves championships, you learned a lot of things that you were able to bring to the professional stage, because you did fight professionally as well.
Yes, correct. I have fought professional fights. My first pro fight was in 1963, and that was in Bakersfield, California, against Tony Salgado, whom I stopped in the 3rd round technical knockout. My first pro fight. And my last pro fight was in 1971 down in Puerto Rico.
So, Joe, when we talk about knockouts, technical knockouts, decisions, whatever, look, a W is a W. But when it comes to looking at the box rec stats, when a promoter doesn't know much about another fighter, let's say they have fighter X that they're promoting, but maybe they're trying to fight somebody else, and maybe there's a guy named Fighter Y or Fighter Z that they don't know. How much weight is put on their box rec stats?
Well, when you look at the stats, you see Fighter A has a total of 15 professional fights, and 13 by knockout and 2 by decision. And the other fighter has a total of 20 fights, and he has 9 wins and 11 losses, and he got stopped 3 times. Well, you know that the fighter who's undefeated with a good record, and so he's a favorite for that particular fight, and he's a fighter that probably the promoter try to promote, and they use the other fighter, a fighter with a little bit more fights under his belt, but he's not going to any danger to the fighter A, who has a superior record.
Right. Well, the reason I ask about that is because in some cases you'll see a fighter maybe with 20 wins, but 4 or 5 or 6 of those have been by decision instead of by TKO or KO.
Well, let me tell you one thing. On my fights that I've had, I think only 3 of them were by knockout. The rest were decision. It didn't mean that I was a bad fighter. It just meant that I was not a great puncher, but I was a great boxer, a good boxer, because I was only one loss in my total of 19 fights. So that means that you don't have to necessarily be a knockout artist to be the best, but it sells better tickets when you're a knockout artist like Mike Tyson.
Right. I mean, scoring is scoring, but a knockout is sexy, and that's what the audience wants, and that's probably what the other promoter wants anyway, right?
Yes. The promoters want to see they want to get a good crowd, so they know by bringing in a fighter with a good record and one that's not the best, but he's a former world champion, and it's a good stepping stone for fighter A, because fighter B, who was a former world champion, has a name recognition, but he's not a danger to his opponent, because he has lost maybe 3 of the last 5 fights.
Right, and when I think of guys that could score in the ring versus big knockout artists, and let's go back to Mike Tyson, obviously a knockout genius, but then you take a guy that was really good at scoring, and that was Chris Bird. Chris Bird was not a flashy champion, but he was really good at scoring, right?
Right, right, exactly.
Talk a little bit about that.
He was not a puncher, but he had good skills, good boxing skills. It was they call it the sweet science. He was a good thinking fighter. He left he left the sport of boxing healthy, but he walked away with not much money they can brag about.
Right. I mean, he had a couple of belts, for example, an IBF and a WBO, but those were not flashy wins by any stretch of the imagination. Technically, there were wins, but a shoulder problem, if I'm not mistaken, with Evander Holyfield, and Klitschko had another issue or something to the effect that was, I wouldn't say it was questionable, because those are wins. But it's not the big, sexy, flashy Mike Tyson style knockout.
Right, exactly. Like I said, the fans want to see knockouts. They want to see somebody who's brutal in that ring. You get a Mike Tyson, you get a George Foreman, and you get a Rocky Marciano. You get the kind of fighters that you knew that little guy came in there. Most of their fights were by knockout, and those are the kind of fights that sell tickets. Yeah,
that's for sure. I mean, even in today's time with guys like Deontay Wilder, even though he's taken a few L's, the fact is he has that devastating right, and it just shakes the whole ring when he lands it.
Yeah, for sure. Wilder's he has a little awkward. For me, he's a little too awkward, and he had a good knockout record, because he if he nails you, he'll knock you out if he's a good puncher. But his style was not the best. His defense was not the greatest. That's why he got stopped by Tyson Fury. And, it's just that he has to get his boxing skill a little bit sharper.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And wrapping up this segment, Joe, it just seems to me like your mechanics from a defensive standpoint need to be intact, but you also need to be able to be aggressive enough where you could throw what you want to and just not get hit at the same time. I mean, how many boxers, just take 30 seconds and talk about this, Joe, as a former fighter. How many times do you lean in for, some kind of a big punch against your opponent, but then you get hit at the same time?
Well, so the talk that you got to take chances in a fight, especially if you know your opponent is not a hard hitter. So there's more of a chance of you not getting hurt, because you can open up and he's going to hit you. We know they're going to get hit, but he's not going to hurt you. Whereas you're going to go in there and try to toe-to-toe with Mike Tyson, you're looking for danger. You're going to be, the chances are you're going to end up getting hurt more than you hurting him. But then again, every fighter at the end of their career, like Mike Tyson, he didn't have it at the end of his career after he got stopped by Evander Holyfield. Then his last fight that I refereed was against Kevin McBride. That we had to stop it at the end of the 6th round. Mike didn't have it anymore. He said that was the last fight. He said, I'm retiring because I don't have it anymore. It's not in me anymore. So he realizes himself. And the fans do it. And the fighters that are coming up the ranks, they say, okay, I want to fight Mike Tyson. But they know he's not the Mike Tyson of the past. But they say, they know if they beat Mike Tyson, that'll do good on their resume. It builds up their stocks going up as fighters.
Absolutely. All right, listen, Joe, I know you're on a schedule today. I want to give you a quick minute to talk a little bit about the Fair But Firm show, Joe Cortez show. Go ahead and take a quick minute to talk about that.
Well, I'll tell you, referee Mike Tyson, throughout my career, refereed him 8 times, and referee Evander Holyfield about 4 times, or Julio Cesar Chavez 6 times, Oscar De La Hoya 6 times, Mayweather 3 times. I could go on with Larry Holmes. I could go on with the Klitschko's, both of them. Manny Pacquiao, Sugar Ray Leonard. I could go on with some of the greatest fighters of all time that I referee. I've always been fair but firm with the fighters, and they know they love to see me in that ring. And even today, they all retire and they see me, they come up to me, they will embrace me, they respect me just like I respect them. Because if without them, the referee is nobody. But then again, to make a good fight, you got to have a good fair but firm referee like Joe Cortez.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
My favorite one had to do with the Green Bay Packers. And I love the fact that they dealt off Ty Montgomery because of a blown assignment. Green Bay isn't Green Bay unless they have a good running game. Then they can win 10 Super Bowls. The fact is, you don't have a running game. You've got 70% passing, and that's not where Aaron Rodgers needs to be. He needs to be in a position where he's got a running game to offset the passing game and so forth. I like the move. Green Bay didn't have a running game anyway, so all they're doing is saying, we're going to get rid of you because you don't follow instructions.
Well, he made one of the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen. There's 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. They traded him on Tuesday.
They should have cut him on Sunday night.
He shouldn't have been on the plane back to Green Bay.
Right, they should have made him walk back to Green Bay.
No, it was a terrible play. Now, he's not a stupid guy. He went to Stanford. He's not a dumb guy.
He's not a dumb guy, but he doesn't follow instructions.
He made a terrible play.
The fact is he didn't follow instructions. And you say he's not a dumb guy. His own agenda he put ahead of his team.
I agree.
Thus, he is a dumb guy. Right or wrong?
Wrong. He just got selfish. You're not going to convince me that a guy from Stanford's a dum-dum.
No!
Yeah, this is Sidney Justin from The Miracles.
So you heard yesterday's show at Roy Firestone. Didn't you hear a little clip about him going into the office where Smokey was at? That was really good material, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really funny, man.
Yeah, and then you heard him.
I thought it was hilarious. It was cool, though. It was cool. Really cool story, man. I enjoyed listening to that.
Right, and then he gave a couple of bars. Can you give us a couple of more from Ooh Baby Baby, and let's see if you could do it better than Roy Firestone? Come on, man!
All right, you know what? Why not? I did you wrong. My heart went out to play, but in the game I lost you. What a price to pay. Hey, I'm crying. Ooh, baby, baby. How's that, man?
That's
Is that okay? Is that good enough?
That's incredible. That's fantastic.
You know why? Because that's what you do. You're in the incredible business, Sid. That's awesome. Yes! Only on the Sports Circus. You're going to get sports? You get music?
Hey everybody, this is Barry Katz from the Industry Standard Podcast, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas and the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, even contracts given to people they don't understand, just like hockey contracts, trade deadline contracts, which we're going to get into, plus a whole lot more. For more information, contact Legal Shield at 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Again, 213-245-1305. Or check them out online at nocourt.us. That's www.nocourt.us. All right, welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, Fox, independent stations from coast to coast. Big hello to our friends over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves, as well as, of course, WDJY over in Atlanta, and our friends over in Honolulu, actually, it's not W anything, it's KHKA, CBS Sports 1500 over in Honolulu, plus all of our other independents from coast to coast. Folks, we're everywhere. You can't get away from us. Also on television, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, WOW Cable affiliates in select markets, hotel television in every Nielsen-rated market. Hell, we're in, if I'm not mistaken, 100 hotels in the greater Chicagoland area, over 110 in the greater LA Basin, over 120, as I understand it, in the greater New York, New Jersey market, and on we go, folks. Believe me, over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast. That is an enormous, enormous number. All right. Speaking of New York, and of course, those New York Rangers have been very busy at the hockey trade deadline. We have to talk about that because they're making enormous moves. First, they pick up Vladimir Tarasenko, which was an absolute coup. And now the New York Rangers acquired Patrick Kane from the Chicago Blackhawks. What? We'll give him a round of applause for that because Patrick Kane is one hell of an acquisition. Of course, the Rangers are finally pulling the trigger on that trade for him, and there was a lot to it. There's a lot of salary stuff. But now Yahoo Sports, we're going to go ahead and give them a little plug because we can. They stated the Chicago Blackhawks traded for superstar Patrick Kane to the Rangers. Of course, in exchange, the Blackhawks did. Let me see if I can start that over. The Blackhawks traded Patrick Kane to the Rangers in exchange for a 2023 second-round pick and a 2023 fourth-round pick, according to the Daily Faceoff. And, of course, Patrick Kane has scored 16 goals and 29 assists in 54 games with Chicago, which is in last place right now. And these guys are, well, they're not going anywhere this season. We know that. It is what it is. And, of course, Patrick has not played since February 22nd, choosing to sit out as his future was being determined. Now, it's crazy to imagine this guy's 34. Now, I watched him play since he first was acquired, or better yet, was first picked up from the Blackhawks back in the amateur rankings. I can't believe he's been around 16 seasons with the Hawks. Of course, after he was picked up back in 2007, as I mentioned, he scored 446 goals and 1,225 points in 1,161 games. Patrick Kane led the Blackhawks to 3 Stanley Cups in the span of 5 seasons between 2010 and 15, notably scoring the championship clinching goal against the Philadelphia Flyers in 2010. That's when the puck, Kane shot the puck from a sharp angle past Michael Leighton. Nobody except Patrick Kane knew that puck went in. He was celebrating. He threw his gloves off. He went and skated to the other end of the ice, celebrating. He just won the cup. He won the cup. He won the cup. And his teammates joined him slowly like, oh, God, I hope you did score because otherwise we're going to look like a bunch of idiots. Well, guess what? He actually did. And the puck got stuck underneath the black inside the net. So it went through the goalie's, I think it went through the goalie's legs. And, yeah, it was such a sharp angle. It was an unbelievable shot. Anyway, that was the beginning of the madness and mayhem for the Blackhawks. And Patrick Kane's been the centerpiece of it. Look, he's been a 9-time All-Star, won the Art Ross Trophy, a Hart Memorial Trophy, a Ted Lindsay Trophy, a Conn Smythe Trophy, and of course, the Calder Memorial Trophy over his incredible career. And of course, Patrick Kane was named among the top 100 players in NHL history 6 years ago. And of course, he's originally from Buffalo. And of course, in the final year of an 8-year, $84 million deal, $10.5 million AAV. And of course, he signed this back in 2014. Now, Patrick was a little bit upset last season when the Blackhawks traded away some key pieces to the puzzle that would have sparked the rebuilding a lot faster. Blackhawks had some general manager issues, and unfortunately, they gave away some pieces that made the fans unhappy, made Patrick unhappy, made the teammates unhappy. Losing Alex DeBrincat was a cornerstone piece for the future originally from Detroit. And Alex DeBrincat goes to the Blackhawks as a youngster, and this kid is good. And the Hawks, whatever they were, I don't know, whatever they put in their pipe and whatever. The fact is, those guys, in my opinion, really made a terrible mistake by getting rid of him. And of course, Patrick Kane was very vocal about that. And also Dylan Strome, another good young player, solid player. And the Hawks just let these players go. And it just gets to be a more and more bitter story because you try to support the team that you broke into the league with. But if you can't get behind the moves they're making, you ask yourself, well, what are we doing here? And so we go back to the New York Rangers and are making a flurry. They're making some moves, right? The Rangers acquire Kane. In fact, also over in that same Eastern Conference, the Toronto Maple Leafs made a bunch of moves too. And as a matter of fact, names continue to fly. This is, again, with the same article that we started with previously. Names continue to fly off the board with the NHL trade deadline right around the corner as Stanley Cup contenders separate themselves from the rest, and those sitting outside the playoff picture start to consider pawning off their assets to the highest bidder. The drama off the ice is keeping hockey fans hooked while teams slog through the dog days of the season. In fact, here's a breakdown of all the trades and news out of the NHL in the lead up to the March 3rd deadline. Feb 28, of course, Edmonton Oilers reportedly acquired defenseman Matthias Ekholm from the Nashville Predators. That's kind of a coup right there. Also, the Maple Leafs acquired defenseman Luke Schenn from the Canucks in exchange for a 2023 third-round pick, originally drafted by the Maple Leafs, 5th overall, 15 years ago. Schenn will give Toronto a little extra muscle on the blue line, and he currently leads the NHL in hits and Stanley Cup experience, having won back-to-back titles with Tampa Bay Lightning just a couple of years ago. He's slated to become an unrestricted free agent, so it looks like a rental player there. Also, the New York Islanders acquired Pierre Engvall from the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's kind of a strange thing. In exchange for a draft pick from 2024, a third-rounder next year. And of course, 26-year-old who has 12 goals, 21 points, 58 games, carries a $2.25 million cap hit and will become an unrestricted free agent. So that was seemingly just a salary move. Now those same Maple Leafs acquired defenseman Erik Gustafsson and a 2023 first-round pick from the Washington Capitals in exchange for defenseman Rasmus Sandin. And the pick sent to Toronto originally belonged to the Boston Bruins and was acquired by the Caps in the Dmitry Orlov trade. And Gustafsson, they go out and describe him. And I have my own description of this guy. But anyway, he's 30, having a resurgent year with the Capitals with 7 goals and 38 points in 61 games, the highest goals and point totals he has reached since a 17-goal, 60-point season with the Blackhawks in 2018 and 19. And he carries a $800,000 cap hit and will become an unrestricted free agent. The Caps get back a premium asset in Sandin, who is also only 22 years of age and was the first-round pick just a handful of years ago. He has 4 goals and 20 points in 56 games and is locked up for one more season. After that, there's a $1.4 million cap hit. A little bit about Gustafsson from my knowledge. Look, he may have had 60 points with the Blackhawks in 2018 and 19, but folks, don't let that fool you, because Erik Gustafsson, as I've seen, even after he left Chicago, this guy is a turnover, in my opinion, a turnover machine. He's an absolute turnover machine. He makes a lot of mistakes in his own end. And this guy's plus minus is certainly nothing to say, well, hey, we've got to have him on our team, because I think this guy is a complete disaster. And let's face it, for Toronto to acquire this guy, the Caps basically sent him over some kryptonite and said, hey, let's go ahead and let's see if we can help out our fellow Eastern Conference mates, if you know what I mean. That's ridiculous. Tell you what, folks, we're going to finish up with hockey when we come back here on The Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Can't beat fun at the old ballpark, friends. Hi, pop fly. That would be a home run in a phone booth. I don't know what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go and buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you're going to get a prize and find no prize in the box? Here's the pitch. That might not sound important to some people, but when you're a little kid, especially from humble origin, and they cheat you out of a prize, there's a bouncing ball. Second baseman has a Barbary over to first. It's hard to think in laudatory terms of the product.
I think if there was an occasional box of Cracker Jacks that found no prizes for the little Harry Carey many years ago.
You got that right. And boy, when a box of Cracker Jack to me meant a lot of money. Here's a pitch, bounce foul. That's the most asinine marketing I've ever heard of. 1 ball, 1 strike. These guys say, well, you sing about Cracker Jack. I said that I only sing it because it's in the song. Here's a pitch foul back. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised, even to this day, some youngsters who buy a box of Cracker Jack don't find a prize in the box. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Well, if you're going to talk about our congressman being crooked, here's a pitch foul out of play. Why not talk about commercial products who don't do what they represent to do? They told me when they hired me it was a temporary job. Born and raised in St. Louis, and you can imagine the Cardinals were my favorite team from the day I could remember. And all of a sudden, the miracle of life, I'm broadcasting Card games. I own the town and broadcast them for 25 years, and I thought they're going to give me a gold watch, and they gave me a pink slip. Then I went out to work for Charlie Finley for a year, and that's par for the course. Came to Chicago, and I was with the White Sox 11 years, and now with the Cubs. Never missed a game, never missed a time at bat, never missed a half inning that I was supposed to do. You know, Chicago is such a marvelous city. Hey, we got some Chicago people. You know, you never succeed in this business until you've had the experience of working with a terrible hangover. Not until you've been able to come through with flying colors under those circumstances can you consider yourself a professional. Lord knows, I've had more than my share of hangovers. There's a drive, way back. It might be, it could be, and it is. Holy cow! This crowd is wild.
Welcome back to Sports Circus with Joe Cortez, International Boxing Hall of Fame referee.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure to check out the sportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are a podcast. Those are recorded in full. They're not edited. No, this is not a podcast. This is a regular FCC-regulated program. So believe me, we have to watch what we say, how we say it, no foul language, none of that nonsense. And we're carried on commercial stations, and we're carried on public airwaves. So we have to make sure that we don't violate any of those rules either. No call to action. For all you would-be radio and television stars, make sure you follow those rules of those public airwaves as well. All those LPFMs, believe me, they have to follow all the rules of the Federal Communications Commission as well. So therefore, they pass that along to us. That being said, make sure to check out the sportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our recorded shows. Of course, they can be found on Spotify, on Apple, Audible, Google, Amazon, you name it, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. We're there. You can't get away from us. Even YouTube. We're everywhere, folks. Also, make sure to check out the partners page. Lots of those partners have been with us since the very beginning. In fact, one of those is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check out their schedule for upcoming events and games at csncoyotes.com. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! That's my patented yes, by the way. Don't go copying that unless you give me credit for it. In fact, I think I even have that in here somewhere. Nope, that's a crack of a bat. That's the applause. We have all kinds of great sounds here. In fact, I just have to find it. That's the bigger problem. Nope, that's not it. Nope. That's not it. That's not it.
Show me the money!
That certainly isn't it, but I'd like to see some if you know what I mean. That's not it.
Excellent.
That's not it. That certainly isn't it. Gotta tell you, folks, there's all kinds of funny sounds here, but I do have the patented yes sound in here, but that's not it either. Anyway, so back to the NHL trade deadline, which, of course, some teams are, well, let's put it this way, not very happy about what's going on. And, of course, the Chicago Blackhawks made an enormous deal, and the Blackhawks trading superstar Patrick Kane to the New York Rangers in exchange for a 2023 second-round pick and a 2023 fourth-round pick. And that, of course, was according to the Daily Faceoff. And Kane had tallied 16 goals and 29 assists in 54 games with the Blackhawks this season. Hasn't played in a handful of days, of course. That's one of those deals. But moving on, the Minnesota Wild acquired forward Marcus Johansson for the Washington Capitals. Now, Marcus has been there for quite some time, a solid player. So basically, the Wild gave up a third-round pick, and that's not bad. So Johansson is, well, let's face it, he's 32. And at the age of 30, that's when the wheels start kind of coming off of athletes. They start to get injured left, right, and center. Well, this guy's been pretty steady. He scored 13 goals, 28 points in 60 games so far this season with the Caps. And I think the Caps are using this more as, let's bring in some younger legs. Let's get rid of some salary. Right? A lot of this is salary dump, folks, because they've got to make room for other people as they move forward. Because let's face it, as the teams retool, whether sometimes they do it on the fly, sometimes they don't, kind of like the Vegas Golden Knights. That would be the Vegas Golden Knights, and we'll get to them in a minute. Ultimately, these teams try to retool on the fly, and sometimes it doesn't really work. Now, the Sharks also have acquired Henry Thrun from the Ducks in exchange for a 2024 pick. That's a third rounder. And it's strange to see two teams in the same division making trades. But then again, this is business. So the youngster Thrun, look, this guy is 21. And he has 26 points in 28 games. Former captain of Harvard's hockey team in the NCAA. And was selected with the 101st overall pick just a few years ago. Also, in the trade world, the Carolina Hurricanes acquired a very good player from Edmonton. Good old Jesse. We don't even want to say his name because I don't want to make a mistake with it. Anyway, they exchanged for the rights to unsigned forward Patrick Wistola, Edmonton's fourth overall pick in 2016. Jesse has struggled this season with only 5 goals and 14 points in 58 games, and the 24-year-old carries a $3 million cap hit. So that's a big offload for them. Apparently, they couldn't turn this kid around. Anyway, Pistola, 22, was drafted by the Canes in the 3rd round, 2019. His 15 goals, 38 points, 56 games with the Finnish Elite Leagues this season. That's not bad. Now, recently, we had the Buffalo Sabres acquired Riley Stillman from the Canucks in exchange for Josh Bloom. Now, Stillman, 24 years of age, has been held without a goal through 32 games for the Canucks. So why would the Sabres go and take somebody that just can't seem to put the biscuit in the basket? Who knows? I think it's really just another trade of youngsters. So Bloom, let's give these guys different scenery. We've seen this between Columbus, and we saw it between Winnipeg, trading superstars, and both actually ended up doing well. Bloom's 19, 58 points in 59 Ontario Hockey League games this season, split between North Bay and Saginaw. That'd be Saginaw, Michigan. Also, the Toronto Maple Leafs acquired Jake McCabe, forward, Sam Lafferty, and a conditional 5th-round pick in 2024, and a conditional 5th-round pick in 2025 from the Blackhawks in exchange for a conditional 2025 first-round pick, 2026 second-round pick, Joey Anderson and Pavel Gogolov. So here it is. The Blackhawks basically just emptying the cupboard, saying, here, just please take it. Get rid of everything that has value. So Chicago will retain also half of the salary of McCabe. That's $4 million for this season, along with the next 2 seasons. Unbelievably bad decisions.
Show me the money!
Financially, they say, oh, well, we can absorb that. I say financially it's a bad decision. Maybe personnel-wise, it may be a decent decision. The Blackhawks analysts seem to think it's a decent decision, but you're losing guys that are productive. Again, you're just emptying everything out, saying, please, just take anybody that can score on our team. Jonathan Taves has been injured, so he's not even playing either. And so it seems like the Rockford Ice Hogs are actually playing for the Chicago Blackhawks at this point, and the fans cannot be happy about this. Me as a Blackhawks guy, I'm not happy about this either. Now, McCabe has 2 goals and 20 points in 55 games, while averaging almost 20 minutes per game. And Sam Lafferty, a very, very good player, 10 goals, 21 points, or 21 assists. Better yet, 10 goals and 21 points in 51 games. Sam Lafferty is a lot better than what those numbers show. How embarrassing for the Hawks to just keep dumping. How about this? How about the Preds? Acquired forward Isaac Ratcliffe from the Flyers in exchange for future considerations. That's the proverbial player to be named later, or the bag of money to be named later. Now, of course, a second-round pick of the Flyers about 5 years ago, Ratcliffe has 2 goals and 4 points in 26 AHL games. Not really a big loss there. But also the Tampa Bay Lightning acquired Tanner Ginnot from the Nashville Predators, but it didn't come cheap. Now, in return, the Preds are receiving defenseman Cal Foote, a first-round pick in 2025. Top 10 is protected, by the way. A second-round selection in 2024, as well as a 3rd, 4th, and 5th-round picks in 2023. Now, why didn't the Blackhawks do something like that for Patrick Kane or for some of the other pieces they just keep giving away? But they didn't do it. Also, the Colorado Avalanche reunited with defenseman Jack Johnson, acquired from, guess where? From the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for a broken Coke machine and a guy that can hit. That would be Andreas Englund. And, of course, the team announced that Johnson won the Stanley Cup with the Avalanche recently, and you may recall, he's rejoining his teammates. So good news, the Blackhawks did a class thing by sending Jack Johnson back to the Avalanche. And of course, they take back maybe a bag of pucks at this point. Also, the New Jersey Devils landed the biggest fish available at the deadline by acquiring Timo Meier from the Sharks. Now, this kid can play. Man, he is good. And the deal is still pending, allegedly, but I guess it just got done. It was announced. Also, the Montreal Canadiens acquired Denis Gurianov from the Dallas Stars in exchange for forward Evgeny Dadonov, which is a big move for Dallas, in my opinion. In fact, the teams announced recently this move, but the Canadiens will retain half of Dadonov's salary until the end of the current season, and Gurianov has 2 goals and 7 assists in 43 games. So basically, it was a salary dump for Montreal, and Dallas is priming themselves for a cup run. These guys are good, and they needed scoring. Dallas can play defense kind of like the Kings. They complete defense, but they don't have a lot of firepower. Well, this guy certainly helps, And everybody in Vegas knows Dodonov because he played with the Vegas Golden Knights last season. A very good player. And speaking of the Vegas Golden Knights, they acquired forward Ivan Barbashev from the St. Louis Blues, which is kind of a crazy move, for a prospect, according to multiple reports. And of course, this guy, look, he's 27, 10 goals, 19 assists, 59 games a season, will hit free agency at the end of the season. So he's essentially a rental player. And good old Kelly McCrimmon, in my opinion, who is already set to blow this team up. I mean, he's Bidening the team. It's unbelievable how bad, in my opinion, Kelly McCrimmon has managed the assets of the Vegas Golden Knights. But then again, he just keeps making bad moves, in my opinion. I don't understand what this guy is doing. As a season ticket holder for the Vegas Golden Knights, this guy is making me not want to renew my season tickets. It's an abomination of him tearing the team apart as I see it, and a lot of other people see it the same thing. Also, with that trade deadline, we saw Winnipeg acquired Nino Niederreiter from the Nashville Predators in exchange for a 2024 second-round pick. And Nito's a good one. He's 30 years old, 18 goals, 28 points in 56 games. Niederreiter signed a 2-year deal for $8 million with the Preds after spending the previous 4 seasons with the Carolina Hurricanes. We also saw the Canucks acquire Vitaly Kravtsov from the New York Rangers, of course, because, well, the Rangers had to make moves because they got Tarasenko, and of course they just recently got Patrick Kane. So there's another move, and we go back to the Boston Bruins. You know, they've been waiting, trying to get deals done with Orlov and Gannett Hathaway, etc. But I have to say that when you look at some of these deals, you scratch your head and say, well, wait a minute. You know, recently the Ottawa Senators cleared some viable cap space ahead of the NHL trade deadline, dealing Nikita Zaitsev along with a 2023 second-round pick and a 2026 to the Blackhawks for future considerations in a salary dump move. So it seems like the Blackhawks just keep spending and spending and spending. I don't know. This is a $4.5 million cap hit. What is the point in moving some of the young talent when you're taking other cap money from other teams? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So again, yes, it's a decent defenseman, but when you look at the moves, you scratch your head and say, what the hell are we doing? Folks, I don't even know what the hell's going on here. That's why we're going to call it today here on the Sports Circus. And big thanks to Joe Cortez joining the Sports Circus earlier today. That's International Boxing Hall of Fame referee Joe Cortez. Yes! In case you missed the episode, go back to our main page, thesportscircus.com, and click on Spotify or one of those other recorded show pages and click on today's episode. Folks, we're going to see you in about 23 hours. Until then, so long, everyone.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.